Hi everybody, this is Dr. Doug. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about the important use of the word queer. Such an important word, used to be very derogatory, but it's being used now more than ever as a term probably to create unification, because we're really interested as a community in seeing how we can work together because we're oppressed, we've been downtrodden. We want to figure out, despite all of the differences, and there are differences, what actually unites us. There's a lot of different theory running around, and I can tell you a little bit about it and some of the history. But I think what's really interesting is to consider that whatever you are, if you're gay, if you're lesbian, if you're bi, if you're trans, if you're queer, if you're questioning, if you're intersex, if you're allied, it's probably worth considering, and this is kind of Dr. Doug's idea that comes from a lot of reading and a lot of teaching and a lot of therapy, that some type of energy, probably inborn, is inside of us that got us at a certain point to realize that we weren't like all of the other people. We weren't like the heteronormative parent society that's been around for thousands of years and that raised us, and that we were born into something magical, something transformational, something super individuational happened at some point in our development that got us to switch on to that spark of life that made us feel that we were not just different, but that we had a special extra spirit. The Native American tribes would call it a two-spirit. That might be a metaphor for gender binariness, an extra spirit that allowed us to march to a different drummer and be our true selves, that later on may have individuated separate types of sexual orientations: homosexual, bisexual, gay, lesbian. Those are sexual orientations, and they may have individuated also particularities in how we expressed and came to know our gender. For example, we might have been born with a gender that was not to be our true gender. Our cisgender was not actually, in many cases, our true transgender. That had to take some hard work on each of us to figure out what our real gender was versus the gender with which we were born. But it could be argued that all of us shared a very specific type of energy that, for all intents and purposes, can be called queer. Yes, it's a hypothesis, but it seems to me to be just as valid as it not existing. And it's a really nice sort of basic way to create a sense of how we are all similar, so that all of our differences can be honored, because a bisexual person may not be the same type of person as a lesbian person, or a trans person may feel certain types of similarities with a woman of color who's bi, but also probably not. How can we work together? How can we think in a new conceptual way? So from my vantage point, queer is useful in that regard. That is going to wrap up part one of this video. Stay tuned for part two of Dr. Doug on the use of the word queer. If you like what I'm saying, please smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and please leave any kinds of questions you have for me in the comment section. It's so great to talk to you. Look forward to part two.